Welcome or welcome back to Pewdiepie. I'm Zui and I hope you enjoyed today's video. But before we get right into it, I'm obligated to remind you to click either the like or dislike button, commenting something down below, and of course sharing the video so more people can see and enjoy it. This is very important as it helps with the YouTube algorithm. I want you to know that your help is greatly appreciated. If you have any suggestions or ideas for a story, my Discord link is in my link tree that is down in the description, as well as my Patreon and Ko-fi for any donations you may want to send my way. Every cent counts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. You stood quietly, with bated breaths, in the lobby of the Fast Entertainment Mega Pizza Plex. Around you were your fellow employees and a few stragglers. The building was under lockdown, its shutters closed, as the wind violently teared at the metal outside. A hurricane had been approaching your hometown over the past 3 days, giving the people just barely enough time to lock everything up. You had secured your valuables in your basement in advance, so you weren't worried about your home computer and video game consoles. But one thought had come to you last night. The Fazbear Megaplex was a secure building, and will most likely survive the storm unscathed. Since you worked there, you knew where to hide, and where a stash of snacks had been hidden in the maintenance tunnels. Together with your coworker Brian, you loved the idea. But now that the storm was here, it seemed like other people had the same idea. The hurricane was expected to last for 3 more days, so you'd be spending some time here. Somewhere a child was crying, while the rest of the people were shouting and mumbling. Honestly, it gave you anxiety. Crowds like this, the noise of talking, that's why you were the night guard after all. Somewhere a man pushed a table in front of you and the people. And then you heard the unmistakable voice of Brian, the day shift guard handler. "Shut the fuck up!" The crowd went silent. Even the child that had been crying turned to quiet sobbing. "Good evening. Name's Brian Chesterbell Crawford. Just call me Brian. I'm the leader of the day shift at the Pizza Plex, and I'm here to make a few things clear." Brian usually was a happy-go-lucky stoner. Seemed like even he was feeling anxious from the storm. Or maybe that's how he acted while on the job? Not like you ever saw it, since you worked opposite shifts. Number 1. The Pizza Plex is open to you for the duration of this little event. You will also be given birthday passes, so you get a 50% discount on pizza. Don't complain, please. It was hard enough to convince management to give a discount to begin with. 2. We are right now setting up sleeping bags in Bonnie Bowl and Roxy Raceway, so the accompanying facilities will be closed. There won't be any bowling and there won't be any kart racing. In exchange, the diners are giving an additional 20% discount on the milkshakes for the inconvenience. So yes, the discounts do stack, so enjoy your 70% discount on milkshakes. 3. The building is running on emergency generator power to avoid a short circuit from outside. This means we will only be able to supply half of the Pizza Plex with energy. 4. Please do not bother the machines, as they too run on emergency power, and Fazbear Entertainment will not be responsible for any injury or death you might experience as a consequence of tampering with the animatronics. 5. This is where I would say have fun, but manager said that would be inappropriate due to our situation. Please enjoy your stay at the Fazbear Entertainment Mega Entertainment Pizza Plex. Our staff is here to help and make your experience more comfortable. Thank you. And with that, your involuntary 3-day stay at the Pizza Plex began. Almost immediately you were picked out of the crowd, since you were an employee. Amir, the manager, wanted to give a more personal pep talk. It just ended up with him saying that the birthday passes are not for the employees and that outside of the 10% employee discount you wouldn't be getting any more leeway. And that the employees would be cut in 3 teams. The first team would be stationed in Bonnie Bowl, the second in Roxy Raceway, as handlers for the civilians. However, the third team had a special duty: animatronic maintenance. 1 employee was selected for each main animatronic. This was so the machines had a handler, so they would get just enough electricity to function and not break anything due to anxiety. And you had been selected to take care of the daycare attendant. Thank God. This meant you'd be spending your time in the daycare, which was one of the places the customers were locked out of during this event. You were given a sleeping bag, big enough for 2 people. Brian, who was handling the things to you, just said, "Trust me, you're needed." Then he gave you a pack of Chica Tato chips, a novelty Fazbear flashlight, a few batteries, and, well, with that, you made your way to the daycare. At the moment the place was still lit up, but the theme didn't play. And the light itself might soon change, though. Quietly you entered the daycare, threw down the sleeping bag behind the desk, and then sat down on a nearby chair. The daycare was so eerie without music. Liminal, almost. A strange feeling of both melancholy, unease, and nostalgia. To be fair, you kinda liked it. You looked up at the high ceiling, just stared for a while, practically feeling how the brutal wind was trying to rip the roof apart, yet the brave metal of the building was holding steadfast. The lights flickered suddenly, and from somewhere you heard a loud crash. Immediately followed by a shrill voice screaming, "Oh no! Oh no! What a mess! What a mess!" The voice came from somewhere above, from the daycare attendant's little alcove. "Why are the lights flickering? Why is my charging station broken? What is happening? Oh no, it's going everywhere!" You snorted quietly. Somehow the fact you didn't see what was happening made it all the more fun. Where's my mop? You blinked. Since when did the robot have a cleaning utensil up there? Oh, there it is. More clutter noises, and frustrated grunts came from the machine. You scratched your thin thought. You could help him, but that would require pulling down the scaffolding. Plus, you were afraid of heights. Oh no, don't go under there, please. Oh God, please. I don't want to lift that. You burst out in violent laughter, which was followed up by an even louder crash. Who's there? Oh, is it a new friend? It has been awfully quiet in my daycare today. After a minute, the robot finally appeared on his balcony. Behold, it is I! The robot's eyes darted over the daycare. After scanning it, his eyes landed on you. Oh, no. That won't do. Where are my little friends? He shouted down at you. Come down, I tell you. You shouted up at him. The robot's head spun wild until it stopped at an upside-down position, indicating a frown. Fine. The robot attached his rope and slowly let himself down to the ground before practically dancing over to you happily. I'm just happy you're here, Night Guard. But isn't it a bit early for your shift? You sighed and stretched. Yeah, it is. Also, it's been a really bad day. Oh, do tell. The robot jumped on your desk and sat down, dangling his feet right in front of you. You cleared your throat before explaining what was happening outside, with the hurricane and the current living conditions of you and your co-workers and the civilians who just happen to have the same idea of bunkering down here. The robot listened intently. At least until he interrupted you.
Oh, so... that at least explains why my lights are flickering. And why my charging station won't work, but... there's a different thing I'm worried about now.
You tilted your head. And that would be? The animatronic leaned forward and gently cupped your chin with his metal hand.
It's you! You haven't really slept yet, haven't you? Sleep is important. Even I know that.
You blushed hard. The robot probably didn't intend it, but it felt like he was flirting with you. Or maybe he was? With a heavily beating heart, you took hold of his hand. The robot's facial plates turned upside down.
Tell me, Night Guard, are you tired?
You blinked. Of course you were. It's just, you know, the anxiety. I just started this job a few weeks ago and my schedule isn't really healthy yet. I can barely sleep when I get home and I come to work tired. Plus now, the storm, I'm just worried.
You are a good worker, Night Guard.
It was weird hearing that from a machine. But what did that other guard say? A really big Russian guy who Brian lovingly called Terminator. If you're not strong enough to fight lizard one-on-one, treat machines like they're people. Will make easier taking care of machines, and more importantly, will make little Night Guard's job easier too. You shook your head just to get the image of the man out of your head.
Oh, yes, you are. Yes, you are!
You blinked. The robot misunderstood your head movements. But you didn't have the heart to tell him that it was a misunderstanding. You had heard from another employee that the machines can get easily attached to someone due to a programming error, where the affection they felt was doubled the more you interacted with them. This was to enhance the experience of returning customers. However, it is also applied to co-workers. So at some point, any show of kindness to them they saw as a big gesture of love. Maybe that's why Terminator treated the machines the way he did. Or why Brian stayed as far away from Roxanne and Chica as possible. However, despite your social anxiety, you saw a use in this programming kink. And maybe the current situation with the storm outside and all, you could get away with sleeping on the job. But then the next question would be, how would you even do that?
I like you, Night Guard,
said Sun all of a sudden, throwing you out of your thoughts. Huh? Trying to regain your composure, you looked up at his face.
And I have an idea.
This was gonna be interesting.
I usually don't say this because we don't see eye to eye, and especially I never do this normally.
You furrowed your brows in confusion.
But... Can you excuse me for a moment?
You blinked. Sure. Almost immediately, the robot jumped off your desk and descended to his alcove, leaving you in silence. Suddenly, however, you heard the robot shout,
"Turn off the lights, Night Guard!"
You sighed, stood up and pressed the naptime button on the Daycare control panel located on the desk. There was no point you could properly argue with the machine once he set his mind on something. But why would he willingly activate his moon phase? What you didn't see while the robot was up in his room was him hastily writing a note with the finger paint he had spilled earlier, the reason for the commotion. And as the machine booted up its naptime protocol and began changing its form, his moon personality picked up the note. And he read it. It was a heartfelt but short note, but also he hated it when his other half ordered him around like this. The text read in a very uncouth writing,
"Moon, help the Night Guard. They didn't have their nap time yet. Pretty please."
The robot's eyes narrowed as he ripped the paper apart.
Naughty naptime rule breaker,
he growled. But then his facial plate made a 360-degree turn. Since you were an employee, he was forbidden to force you to uphold the nap time. But judging by the note, he could probably do his job for once with you. On all fours, the robot crawled to the balcony of the alcove and stared down at you, his eyes glowing in a surprisingly calm blue.
You,
he shouted down at you.
Miss Nightguard, please, come up here.
You deadpanned. While you were instructed to indulge the animatronic's insanity, you were not going to pull down the scaffolding.
Miss Nightguard!
Defiantly, you crossed your arms.
Fine.
The robot made his way down to you using his rope and then quickly rushed over to you. His speed putting you on edge. You didn't realize he could run so fast. Excited, the robot slammed both hands on the desk and looked closely at your face.
You look tired.
I am tired. His head tilted to the right.
Then please, take a nap.
He sounded really demanding. You exhaled. I can't. The robot blinked.
Such a blatant attempt at defiance,
he hissed. Why are you trying to order me anyways? The robot looked behind himself, calculating a proper response, and he came to the conclusion that the truth was warranted.
Yeah, my other half wished for me to come out so I can put you to rest. You need sleep.
You blushed. Why were you feeling embarrassed?
And I will not pass up an opportunity to make one of you defiant employees fulfill my naptime rule for once.
The robot chuckled darkly. There was one more reason he wanted this. And that was to make Sun jealous. He knew how much the other half of the daycare attendant cared for you. And the mere thought of Sun never ever being able to sleep with you in a single bed made him feel incredibly powerful. You sighed. I do have a sleeping bag. You pointed at it and the robot followed your gaze.
Oh, so you already got everything.
Quietly, the two of you stared at each other awkwardly.
Well, normally I would grab the child and put it to bed. But, how am I supposed to grab you?
What? The machine walked around the desk and expectantly looked down at you. Was he waiting for you to stand up? Another moment of awkward staring began.
I'm waiting.
For what?
I need to grab you and tuck you into bed.
Rolling your eyes, you got up. It took the robot 3 attempts until he finally found the right position to grab a hold of you. He never carried an adult before. It made you blush the way he was holding you. Normally he would just grab his little friends by the hip and simply lift them off their feet. But with you that was a little bit difficult. So he carried you in both arms, like a groom does a bride. You'd be lying if you said that you didn't enjoy this. Not that he was holding you like this for too long. This really isn't necessary, you said, sighing.
Oh, but it is. There's no proper sleep without someone who cares about you tugging you in.
You would protest if you cared enough. Gently he pushed you into the sleeping bag, or at least, as gentle as he could. He then squatted down next to you, his face mere inches from you. After a quiet moment you gulped. What?
I'm waiting for you to sleep.
Well, now you understood why some of the kids had nightmares. Especially for staring like that. You do realize I can't do that while you stare at me. It's creepy.
There are no other friends around to demand my attention, so I can give you all of mine.
I see. Still though, you're making me feel self-conscious.
What should I do then?
And finally you understood. Fucking Brian, you thought. This sleeping bag is big enough for the both of us, you said. God damn it, Brian. You thought about it, didn't you? You asshole. The robot took a step back.
Is that appropriate?
I'm an adult. The robot blinked.
You want a full good night program then, huh?
I can do without the milk. The robot chuckled.
Good. Because I don't think the warmer will work properly.
He then quietly crawled up into the bag with you. He was a little too tall, so he stuck out way more than you did. At first, both of you just lied next to each other. He impatiently tapped his fingers on his chest, occasionally asking,
Have you fallen asleep yet?
He always retorted with a simple no. The shenanigans of the robot had distracted you from the storm outside, and now that it was a little more quiet, hearing it rattle the building made you feel uneasy. You kept thinking about your abandoned home, desperately hoping that in the worst case scenario there would just be a broken window and a little bit of water damage. The more time passed, the more your eyes hurt, and boredom just became worse and worse. And finally the robot noticed something.
So, why are you crying?
You shrugged in response. I guess anxiety and stress. The robot understood and rolled on his side. Of course, Moon understood that he was made out of hard metal and plastic, that he would never be able to replace a person, but still, gently he pulled you closer to him, making sure the sleeping bag's pillow was securely under your head, to assure enough comfort for you to fall asleep. The robot embraced you, his systems calculating the right amount of pressure so you wouldn't be in pain. You blushed as your face was pushed into his chest.
I like you. You're fun, night guard.
You hummed into his chest. He began stroking your back gently. The rhythm and strength behind it was programmed into him and was supposed to be soothing for children. However, it also worked on adults. You yawned.
I love you,
he whispered. Why?
You are not breaking my rules, and you actually try to follow them.
He suppressed a sigh, knowing just affirming him would keep him quiet. Sure. I love you too. In response, the machine narrowed his eyes and decided now he would not let Sun take you away from him, because now he himself had feelings for you. Today's video had been suggested by Discord user Gale. Thank you for your kind submission.